Transplanting Peppermint, video 8. Here's the plot, here's some mint. So I got the knife out, and then we'll just cut these things. So right here, we want to cut it just below those nodes. Okay. So basically where it's cut right now is good, but we want it cut fresh. Now that one I could just plant, and I'm just going to cut this into another one, so I'll make another plant. So what I'll do is cut it just below this node here. Okay, see that? So we'll cut it right there on an angle down this way. Okay, so that is cut on an angle there. And then each one of those will get planted. So that one from yesterday that I cut down there, we'll just plant that there. I can just rip these leaves off over here, but not the node, not the growth. So if I take out those leaves, it's all good, but leave these shoots here. Okay, so then we just start planting. I just stuck it in the ground, down just about an inch or two. And that's it. That's how you plant it. And then I'll just plant rows of them in there. So here's the one I just cut. Now it's pretty long, right? We could just cut this again. So I'll do it in half, because right now this is like 10 inches long or so. So I'll just do it, I'll cut it again in half, just like what I just did. I'll cut underneath one of these nodes here. Right? So right under here. Okay, and then just stick that in the ground about 1.5 inches or so. The next one, okay, now this one here, see the top part? It doesn't need this extra stem up here, because there's nothing above that. The last nodes are right there, so we can just cut just above those. Okay. Alright, stick that one in. Okay, I hope you can see these. I think I'll just move the camera angle, and then we'll bring the camera right back there. Okay, so that's there. Okay, so I've planted those 3 next to each other in a little row there, starting them. There's still more plants. And there's more roots, and I've already planted some roots you saw in an earlier video. So we'll just reposition the camera here. Okay, it's tilted, but it'll still work like that. Okay, cool. So just continuing on with these. Here's that one. Did I say I was going to bring that one? I think there's another one just like that. Yeah, I've already got some root stuff. Okay, so this one here, you can see the shoot on it, and then the stem up here doesn't seem to have any activity on it. Like, you don't see any green shoots coming out from it. This stuff here, it might go. But they're really, really far apart too. The internodal length is like this far between my 2 fingers. Like, that's really far because it's stretched out, and it was like underneath a blackberry bush. So these things really stretched out, and they were like 3 or 4 feet high, these mint. I'm just going to cut this one off down here and then allow it to be 2 different plants. Whoops, I'll cut it off down low and allow it to be 2 plants. So the bottom piece will have the roots and that shoot there, and then the upper piece will start somewhere in here where it still has these little roots, these little hair roots, and then that will start that plant which goes above it. So that top part may survive as well, and we'll get 2 plants. So I'll just choose a spot on it so that the top one has some root to it. So like this, so that it still has some of that on the top one, The bottom one has plenty of roots and the shoot. So we'll just cut it right here. I just leaned it over a log and cut it on there so it had a little chopping block. Okay, so that's that one. So that'll just plant completely underground. You can even put that shoot sticking up. That little shoot there. And you want to put those roots, those hairy roots, right down at the depth as long as they are. So we kind of want to dig a deeper hole, and I'll put more water into it too. Okay. Where is that thing? I think I just lost that one. I think it's this one here, actually. There we go. Okay. So that goes underneath, plant it, and I'll leave the shoot near the top, and I'll have the top of the shoot just sticking up a little bit. So it's right there, just sticking up a 1/4 inch. But that way it's already going to start getting light. It'll grow right away. There's more of them, more of these root things, and I'll put them upright because you can see where there's a shoot on it there, like the eyes on a potato. So that little shoot is pointing that way, so it shows me which way is up for this plant. Okay, here's another one. There's a lot there. I mean, you could actually do more than one plant with that thing. So where are the shoots on it? The roots are growing down like that. But both stems are pointing up. Okay, so the roots are here, but both of these stems are pointing like this. So I think that's where the plant was. So this was up before. So these two, this is up on your screen right now. So I can just cut it off here in the middle, and then that way it has these two shoots which point up, and it's got roots on both ones. So I'll just cut it here. Okay. All right, here's the other one. So these are the shoots on it up here. Those two. These are roots, but there's like a couple shoots here, one on either side, nodes. Okay, we'll put that in here, right near the river. Okay. And then we basically water it after you do this, but there's still some more of these green things here to plant. Okay, so here's another one. Okay. So that's great. This video is a little long, but we can keep going because I'm going to get these plants in here now. These other ones, just do it faster. Some more water, so they're really soaking in the water. And then this, cut it again. Okay, so I'll cut it, it's near the bottom, but I'm cutting just below these nodes here. Okay. And then, and this is like over a foot long, so I'll just cut it in half, so we get two different plants. So for the bottom one, I cut it just above one of the nodes, right in here. And the top one now has that at the bottom, right? So now we need to cut off to near the bottom, just below this node, these nodes. That's so that the roots will grow there. So the roots will grow out near this node. Okay, so then basically you just take this and plant it. I just cut it, right? You can put some rooting powder on it now. You just cut it. You dip that in the rooting powder and then plant it. We're just going to directly plant it. So now I'll stick it deep into that mud, as deep as it can go, because this is a bigger plant, and so if we get more of those nodes underground, then more of them will grow roots probably. So I get it underneath there, and then stick some more mud around it. So I just braced it with more mud, and there it is, there's the plant. So it's sticking about 4 inches or 6 inches out of the ground. Here's another one. That was that first one, so we have it cut now near the bottom. Just stick that in the ground. Over here. Alright, I stick that one way in, because it's because it went in easily, so it goes in as far as it'll go. Okay. And there were some that were poking out again. Oh, actually, there's like this. So I'm just going to make sure that those are underneath. I might have unearthed them. Okay, so you might want to bring dirt from somewhere else as well, so you can put more dirt on top of this. Because now I've lowered the dirt because I've compacted it. Okay, but now you can see a little bed of mint that will be growing there. There's still some more stems here, so plant those. Okay, cool. These ones are just like stems. There's not a lot of green on them. But I've got like 5 more of those stems because they were part of the long plants, right? Like 3 or 4 feet high, and I grabbed a couple of those plants. So some of it's just stem. So you can see this part here. Near those leaves, there's a couple little nodes right here. Not sure if you can see them, but they're actually just a couple right there. So maybe we should just cut right below that and use that as the rooting part. But then there needs to be more nodes up above for the plant to grow from. So like up here, this one is kind of a little dried out. I think it may work up there, just tiny, right? So I'll cut just above that one, and I'll cut just below the other one. Okay, so that's the top, that little shoot. And then down below, we got that leaf. So everywhere there's leaves, there's usually nodes there. So just beside it, I'm going to cut just below that, about a 1/4 inch below it, or even an 1/8. Okay, perfect. So now we've got that. And then you can tear that leaf off, because it's going to be buried anyway. And then just plant it in here. Okay, and then I'm sticking that in pretty deep, because that means it's going to have more water, right? So I stuck it in basically as deep as it went, which was about 2 inches. And that way it's in there with in the mud deep where the water is going to stay around it longer. And then I just kind of pack the dirt around it. Then there's this one. So I've got a node here, and then the next one is up above the top. So there's really only one node on this one, so we don't know if this one will work. I'll try, and down below I don't see a node down here at the bottom. So I'll just cut just below this node that we do see, and then plant it, and what's above it, I think there's no more nodes above it. So I can just cut off a length of this stem, and then hope that where it has that node, it'll create roots and grow up a shoot from there too. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. Got the nodes, just a stem above it, no nodes above it. Usually you want at least 2, so the node here and then a node higher up, and you cut above that one. There is nothing up here though, so we're just going to cut it off about 3-inch long stem. And then just stick that into the mud too. If we're really lucky, and if nature is kind to us, it'll just grow right there. And so one of them could be a root, one could be a shoot, or maybe it'll actually just do both on each. Then I've got this one. This one has some roots on the bottom. Just a little bit of root there. And then it's got this thing the stem with maybe definitely some nodes on it, but I don't see much growing from them, so we'll just choose where we want to cut off the top from. Okay, I'm going to allow all of it to grow because they're really, really small, any of the shoots of the nodes, so I'm just going to cut above that top one, just giving it the most chance because it has the most nodes on the plant. I might be wrong here. It might be better to shorten it to a certain length, like about 6 inches might be the ideal thing. It's just I'm not sure if these other nodes will do much, so we're just going to have that one as a longer one. So then see, it has those roots on it. I don't want to just drive that into the ground, right? Like the ones where I just cut off the end, I drove them into the ground, right? This one's got those roots. If we just push that in, then it can rip the roots off. So we want to dig a hole, put it in there, and then pack the dirt around it. Okay, so I'm just digging a hole with my fingers, but you can use a trowel. Put that in there. And then I can pour more water around it and basically have that sticking up like vertically, close to vertical. Okay, some more water. They're basically totally flooded in there, but that's because I'm going to go away, so I don't know how much they'll water it, and this way they should grow roots and shoots. Okay, so another one, I'll just, you know what to do, you just cut below the bottom node and then cut just above the top one. So there's 3 on this one. Alright. There's just 3 with about 3 inches in between each, so you get a total of 6 or 7 inches here. And then let's just put it the right way up. Okay. So whichever way has the nodes pointing up, which would be, I think, this way. And with these, there's no roots on it. I'll just stick it in and just drive it into the ground. Maybe even have the bottom 2 nodes underground, because now the one that's way under is going to be really deep in the wet dirt, so it should be there for a long time, staying moist for a long time in there. Okay, this one, it got ripped, it got broken up top here. So I'm going to cut off the top node part, since I have 2 nodes below it. There's a bottom node there, and then one about here, about 4 inches up. So I'm just going to cut above that one. So just above it. Plant that one. Alright, put it in as deep as it goes, but with the top one above the ground. And then there's another, here's the last one. So there's a little shoot right there. So that's up. Up is that way. We'll cut just above this one and then look at the bottom of it. Right. There's the top. And then on the bottom, this one is about 10 inches or a foot long. And then here on the bottom, I'm going to find the node. It's right there. So there's a lot below it, right? About 2 inches. I'm going to cut near the node, because that's where the roots will grow. And I cut on an angle. Okay, so this, I've cut on this angle here. There's the knife, and there's the stem. Stem, knife. So I've cut on that angle, because then you have more surface area here. You can even cut more that way, right? More like this, because then you got more surface area, and then you dip that in rooting powder, you increase the likelihood of the roots growing. So that by cutting on an angle, we're getting more surface area and potentially more roots. And then I'm just sticking that in the ground there. Stick it in and then tamp some dirt around it. There's some dirt from the surrounding area. You can bring that in and tamp it around them too. Alright. Okay, so that does it. It's all done there. There's some more water. So they're just sitting in mud, basically, right? And then that's how we can root these plants. It's sitting in a little pond of water. Okay. I can build up a dam on the side here so that the water, like where the camera is, so the water doesn't flow out. Here, just pile up some more dirt. Right there. Getting the camera tripod a bit dirty. But anyway, that is an occupational hazard of doing this. Okay, so now we got the dam built right in here. So I built up this dam, and there's the mint patch in its little lake, and then I can add some more water. And then the water should just sit there, so that then it'll just contain it. There. Done. So that's the complete process. Now it's sitting in water, and the water will soak in, and they'll just sit in mud for days. Even if people don't water it, it should be wet for days. And it's also, remember, we chose a spot that has some shade. So that's the completion of the mint transplanting. And then you got to water this regularly, keep the soil moist. And there should be 10, 12, 15 different plants that will grow right here, even though I only pulled up about 2 plants. Okay.